Hey guys, welcome back to episode 5 of Breaking Pop Podcast.
Today we're talking about mental health, which, could get a little sad, a little serious, but that's why today on the menu I specifically requested comfort food. So, before we get into today's episode, let's have James do what he does best.
So today we have 삼각김밥 or triangle kimbap. We have 군만두, which are fried dumplings, 단무지, which is Korean radish, kimchi, and for the main event, we have ramyeon. Inside the ramyeon, we have 떡, we have egg, mushrooms, and ramyeon. Oh, also we have bubble tea as our drink.
So I know today's topic is very important, but this is one of my favorite menus in general, just ramen, mandu, 삼각김밥. So I'm going to get into it.
Yeah, let's go. Wait, let me pour some for you.
Oh, thank you. You know what? Also today, we got these bubble tea drinks from a brand called Evergreen. I've been seeing this everywhere.
Okay.
Like I think they even sell it at Costco. Or maybe that's a
did you buy it
different
at a
bubble
Korean
drink.
supermarket?
Yeah, I got it at Galleria. I also picked up these 삼각김밥 triangle kimbaps at Galleria. I don't know if there's I don't know if there's actual tapioca in here. I'm so curious. So I'm gonna.
Do you feel like you had to shake it before?
I did kind of shake
Okay,
it.
okay.
Wait, where's the bubbles? What the heck? Hold on.
Is there bubbles in there? Is there boba? Do you call it bubble tea or boba?
Bubble tea. We're not American.
I don't know, but people call it...
Ooh, you know what though? The flavor is actually pretty good. You might not like it because it kind of tastes fake.
Okay.
But for what it is, it's pretty good. And I'm disappointed there's no actual tapioca, but it's fine. We can make do.
Okay, there's a lot more, but should I put it off to the side? The ramen? Or we could just pick at it. How about that?
Yeah, just leave it there. So I know today's topic is very important, but the food looks too good, honestly.
I'm so excited.
So I'm gonna take a bite before anything else. Oh my gosh.
잘 먹겠습니다.
잘 먹겠습니다. Thank you for preparing this.
Of course. Wow.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. You put so much stuff in here.
So there's 떡, which I like to put in my... And I know you love 떡 too, right? Mm-hmm. Mushrooms, onions, just like the common stuff. And an egg. You always need the egg for the protein, you know?
Wow. I don't put mushrooms in my ramen.
Oh, really?
Pretty good move though. And today we also have this canned bubble tea from a brand called Evergreen.
Where'd you get this?
I got it at a Galleria, which is our local Korean grocery store, and that's where I also picked up the triangle kimbaps.
What flavors do we have here?
This is spicy tuna mayo. This is spicy crab mayo.
Kimchi tuna and tuna mayo. So all the spicy stuff is on your side.
Do you want one?
No. I feel like this is spicy enough.
Okay. Well, cheers before.
Cheers. It actually tastes like bubble tea.
It really does. There's no tapioca in here.
Oh, are you sure there's no boba in here?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Even though the packaging is very misleading.
I'm gonna mix this
profusely.
profusely.
Oh my gosh, I swear to God.
Oh yeah, maybe not.
Okay.
No, I see a black bubble there.
Oh my God.
So there is little pieces of boba.
Oh my gosh, what the heck? All right, well, in any event, today's episode is about mental health and why do we feel that it's important to talk about it as Korean people. I think, generally speaking, mental health is still very much taboo, very stigmatized in Western culture, but even more so in Eastern, especially Korean culture. I was just looking it up. Korea has one of the highest rates of suicide in the world, and it's been that way for a long time. Factors such as elderly, isolation, and high pressure amongst young people for academic success. You know, it's pretty normalized. Suffering is pretty normalized in Korean culture, and talking about mental health and doing things to address it is not so much. So I think as long as, we have a platform, we should talk about it.
For sure. And it should be normalized. I was talking to Hannah about this before, where I feel like a lot of aspects of health, whether it's physical health, we exercise it every day, but mental health should be talked about every day. And to be honest, I know I have a lot of mental health struggles. I feel very uncomfortable talking about it. I have no one to talk to about it, so I'm super thankful to have you like by my side to talk to you and like guide me through it.
So yeah, like a little context behind me and mental health. My whole thing on social media started when I started sharing my life as a lawyer that was severely depressed and anxious. And I started showing what a day in my life looked like as someone who was trying so hard to keep it together, but also had a lot of problems. I struggled with depression, anxiety my whole life, um, diagnosed with PTSD, amongst other things, throughout university and law school. And I think I got to a point in my professional career where I couldn't do it anymore. I actually snapped. So, I don't tell a lot of people this, but basically I used to be an injury lawyer, and I would see all the time clients get into accidents. And accidents happen every day without you knowing when it's going to happen. Life is short, life is unpredictable, but an accident can change your life overnight. And I would have nightmares when I was in this profession struggling, that I would get into a car accident and the rest of the dream would be me crying and feeling so bad because I just regretted the way I lived my life. And I woke up that morning and I was like, okay.
Is that when you quit your job?
Yeah, that was like the week leading up to. I was like, something is definitely pushing me to make some sort of drastic change in my life for my mental health. And that's when all of this kind of began to happen for me as a content creator, as someone who tries to figure out what it means to be happy, right? So yeah, lots and lots to talk about. I'm really interested to hear your story though, because we've talked briefly about this before, just like off camera, off the record, but James mentioned something to me that like just blew my mind. He said that he doesn't know what it feels like to be sad.
Yeah.
What is that about?
Honestly, like I mentioned this in a previous episode where I do feel like my biggest red flag as just a person is that it's hard for me to feel a lot of emotions. And I think as, growing up, I love my parents, I love my dad so much, but I also grew up with very strict rules, right? So crying was not allowed. Like controlling my emotions was really heavily emphasized. Which is why like I feel like I have mental blockers in my head that don't allow me to feel these certain emotions that most people feel. And like kind of going even a step further, I feel like being empathetic is being able to like resonate with people's emotions, but because I can't really understand, yeah, like I'm very good at being sympathetic, and empathetic, I can show the act of kindness and try to understand.
Right.
But really feeling it to the core,
Right.
it's hard.
Do you feel like that prevents you from getting close to people?
Yeah, I think I'm very good at being surface level with people. Yeah.
But that bothers you to the point where you would want to do something about it? Like, have you tried? Yeah. Have you in your adult life? Have you ever tried to do things to help you connect with yourself emotionally?
No.
No?
No, I don't want to go. I don't want to go there.
Why?
Because I feel like there's no benefits to it.
Really?
Yeah, at this point, I think it's. I have a lot of trauma for sure, and I have like a lot of things that I need to unravel. Actually, no, I take it back. I want to, but I just don't know how.
Okay.
I want to, but I just don't know how.
Right.
Yeah.
It's tough. I can't imagine feeling what you feel.
Yeah.
Because
oh, really?
I feel things so much and so deeply and so often. In fact, my life is very exhausting because my emotions are like all over the place. To just be like stable, what is that? That's so unrelatable. Like, what does that feel like?
Me and Hannah are total opposites.
Total opposites.
We're total opposites.
Yeah, it's actually so interesting. But
I'm this.
Yeah.
Like I just.
And I'm literally like this. But yeah. It's fine though. Like I think it's okay to be the way you are, obviously, and it's also okay to be the way I am. I will say though that once I learned how to, first of all, admit to myself truly that I'm not okay, that I need help, and that it's okay to share these things with not just my close family and friends, although that is very important, but like with millions of people online. It's a very scary thing to do, I guess. But
do you feel comfortable talking about it?
I do, because you know what? There's so much more benefit to being vulnerable than there is cons, because once I started sharing those things with people, I gained so much self-awareness, self-assurance, validation, a connection with people I've never even met before, like all across the world. And it also gave me a sense of purpose because not everyone gets to do what I do, which is actually have this time to figure out how to be happy long term.
Yeah.
I think in this day and age, everyone is so busy with like work and family, just, life, that even though you know you might not be okay, no one has the time to actually do something about it. Or what does that start even look like? And I think that's why people kind of watch my content, is because they want to see what are the little things I can do today that'll help me feel better or that'll help me build better habits. I still don't have it figured out, to be honest, but that's part of the journey, is like you're going to mess up. Things will work, things won't work. But at the end of the day, making even like the tiniest little baby steps towards happiness is so much better than just suffering silently. Yeah, that's why I'm not worried about you, because you're fine. But
am I fine? I don't know.
So. I think you're fine.
Yeah.
But I do like really encourage you, the next time you feel sad or any type of negative emotion, to like actually sit with it. Because I feel like James, when he's like sad or stressed or something, he thinks about it for like a millisecond. He's like, all right, what can I do to make this better, in terms of just like not thinking about it? I feel like
you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly me.
I feel like
let's pivot.
Yeah. Which is great. That I mean, great in the sense that you get so much done. But if you ever feel like, I wonder what it's like to connect with myself emotionally,
I'm dying to do that. Yeah. I'm dying to do that. But I just find that, I don't have benefits anymore. So I can't see a therapist, which I would love to see a therapist. But I just don't have people to talk to about these kinds of things, to be completely honest. And I think not a big actually no. I think a big reason of why you're successful as a creator is because you are so relatable and you are able to talk about these issues that a lot of people, resonate with. Yeah. And like, before we get into this even deeper, I really appreciate you opening up to not only me, but like to the general public about mental health, because it's a very uncomfortable thing to talk about.
So, I'm at a point now, because I've been doing this for 2 years.
Okay.
I talk about my mental health so much that it's like very, very normal to me. To be in your position, what about that is scary to you? Like, what is scary to you about talking to other people about it?
Not knowing how I feel. I literally do not know how I feel.
Okay.
So because like when you speak in words and you put stuff out into this world, you can't really take it back. So, or you can say, I made an error, but a lot of the times people will take it and run with it. Whereas for me, like, I genuinely don't know how I feel, because I have these mental blockers where I can't, where I haven't allowed myself to feel a lot of things.
Are you scared of saying the wrong thing? Like, are you scared that if you open up to somebody about how you truly feel, and those feelings are negative, are you scared that they are gonna judge you, or misinterpret what you're saying and judge you, or like, what's the fear? Like,
I think there's an aspect to that, but it's honestly just not knowing.
Not knowing.
Yeah.
Like, you yourself don't know how to put it into words.
Yeah. I just don't know how to communicate it.
What was one of like the hardest times in your life?
You know what? I live my life through justification, and you know that.
Yes.
So everything, like, no matter how bad, how much trauma I've been through, I'm like, okay, that can happen in life. And how are we going to move on from it? That's just like how I'm wired.
But you didn't answer my question.
Yeah, like,
what was one of the hardest points in your life?
The reason why I pivoted to the justification part is because I feel like there isn't one thing that's been hard. I feel like I've gone through a really hard, like, childhood, to be honest, where I was put under a lot of pressure to succeed. And I just feel like and then because I was brought up like that, like, I secretly thrive under pressure. Like, I love it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I can't pinpoint one hard time. I think it's probably my childhood, my strict childhood.
Your strict childhood.
Yes.
Right.
I would, if I were to give you a clear answer.
Right. Okay. And like school, grades, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Did you do well in school?
I did well in school.
Okay, me too.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
also am like you. I thrive under pressure. And even though I recognize that that time was tough, especially with my parents and feeling very like misunderstood and all that, as an adult now we can look back and say, you know, I'm grateful, you know, and so it doesn't feel like right to say that was like one of the worst times of my life. I totally understand that.
What was like one, if you were to say, okay, one traumatic experience or where you feel like, okay, this kind of elevated my mental health issue? Or I don't like the word issue.
I mean,
are you allowed to say issue?
Yeah, you can say issue. I mean, it's different when you say, "Oh, you have issues," but yeah, mental health for me has been an issue. So it is an issue, and I think my tipping point was definitely law school because throughout university, like I was I struggled with depression, anxiety, you know, substance abuse. I've been there and back, but because I was so focused on attaining that goal, which was law school, I kind of maybe did what you did. I just pushed everything down and just turned that into productive energy to like achieve a certain goal. But then I got there, and when the pressure of like achieving that goal was gone, and I was faced with the reality of what I had done, which is basically kill myself to be someone I'm not, to attain something I didn't even want. Like I did it for the wrong reasons. That's when I think my mental health started spiraling because there was no more goal. Like there was no more thing to hide behind and say, you know, I need to study hard now because, and like my mental health isn't worth it because there's this goal in mind. Like it wasn't like that. I got to law school and I realized I never pictured myself being
when
a
you
lawyer.
got there. So it wasn't even after the fact. It was right when you got there.
I think it was like the first day of law school was cool because it was like a new experience and I was like, okay, I can see myself doing this. But like a week in, I realized the grave mistake I felt like I made. And at that point, like it felt like there was no turning back because I worked so hard. I worked my entire life to get to law school. And then in a week you realize like this isn't what you want to do. Like it was horrible. At that point my mental health was so bad. I stopped going to classes. Like I physically couldn't go to class. Like I mean I went to York, Osgoode for law school. So and I was living downtown. So that was already a very far commute. But it wasn't like the laziness. I literally I woke up in the morning feeling sick, like
that you made the wrong decision.
It just going to class made me so sick. Like
because you didn't want to do it.
Yeah, it felt so icky. Like it felt like just imagine somewhere you really don't want to be. That feeling, it just was like tenfold, and it was like piling on day by day. Like I'd be so nauseous in class. Like I would just I would wake up that morning and literally not even be able to like wash my face, brush my teeth. Like I couldn't function. I did try to go to class just to like get the notes and do everything, but as someone who loves learning and I love school, for me to feel that way about going to school was a big wake-up call for me. I was like, okay, something is seriously wrong here. And that's when I started realizing I need help. Like I can't do this alone. And that's when I started seeing doctors, giving me various diagnoses, making me try various, antidepressants, all sorts of things. And I think the pills, like the pills and the therapy, it kind of numbed me out enough for me to get by. Like I graduated, I got my degree, like I made it, barely. But by the end of my law school journey, I think my mental health was an absolute shambles. But then COVID hit. And everybody was kind of stuck, and I was stuck in doing articling, which is like kind of the internship part of law school. Normally, when people do their articles, they take a break before they enter the workforce. But because it was COVID and I was working for a small firm, they really needed my help. So, and me being the people pleaser that I am, I was like, okay, this is more important than me. So I stayed. Like I just worked all the way through, and I think after 2 years of that, on top of being burnt out through law school and honestly being not so great in university, I like fell apart.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you felt that way, and I'm just, like,
Yeah.
honestly, it as a friend, it actually like breaks my heart when people that I care about or my community or my friends feel that feel this way. You know what I mean? And I'm
It makes
sorry
me sad.
that you
Yeah.
had to go through that.
But honestly, and this isn't me trying to like valid, like,
Mm-hmm.
justify all of that. I don't regret it though at all.
Yeah.
Like, I don't regret going to law school. I think I might have if I didn't leave.
Mm-hmm.
But after I left that profession and started doing more of the creative stuff that I felt like I was really born to do,
Mm-hmm.
and I realized, wow, you know what? I actually look forward to life. Like, there's things to like actually look forward to. Then I realized I learned a lot of things about myself, but also just life skills going to law school.
Yeah.
I don't think many people can say that, and I'm very, very proud of myself for like actually, pulling through.
You're a freaking lawyer.
Technically.
Like, you should be so proud.
Technically,
Yeah.
but yeah, like, it's no regrets. So,
For sure.
but I will say that healing is not linear. So I don't know if you've ever tried to go on some sort of healing journey or some sort of like self-improvement journey, but it's never a straight line up. It's always like up and down. And even like now I have really bad days where I feel the after effects of like of all the trauma, or I get triggered because like, PTSD, and it does make everyday living not so easy and swell, but
Yeah.
but I'm at least a lot better than I was like a few years ago, for sure.
Is the PTSD law school?
It was law school, but also it was from an abusive relationship I was in my first year of law school. It was a double whammy, really. Like, I was just, things were not set up for me for success in my mind. Like, I'll just put it that way. Like, there was so much going on in that period of time that really messed me up. But again, learned so much, so it's all good. But I think that's kind of like where I hope I can help people, is everyone knows what it's like to feel stuck. And I think you do too, because you also made a career switch.
Yeah.
Right? For a reason. But it's like, as scary as it is, it's also not that bad. Like, if you really want to do something about it, like, you can. No one's expecting you to change your life overnight.
Yeah.
But like I said earlier, that there are little, baby steps you can take to set yourself up for that jump when you finally feel courageous enough, or when you have the resources to actually make that jump.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all there is.
That's what I'm like super envious about your situation, where you're able to identify the mental health, I hate the word issues, but mental health issues that you have encountered, whereas for me, like, I haven't been able to identify it. And I know I have so many mental health issues. Like, I know there are so many underlying layers to me that I would love to improve on.
Why do you think you have issues?
See,
Like, if you don't feel bad, why do you think you have issues?
I just want to improve, and I just feel like it would be like, for example, right? Like, it's so 힘들어, right? Like, which means tiring in Korean. To just, like, for example, to make a decision for me, it takes so long for me to make a single decision. People might think, okay, like, James is like really quick, but for me, like, I think of like 10 different things before I make a decision, right? But just because I was able to identify that as like at a young age, it's really freeing. So I feel like it would just make my life a lot easier if I knew, like the stuff that I like was struggling with, like whether it be me dealing with stress or under pressure. I think my life would be easier.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, please.
But do you feel anxious
Yeah.
throughout the day?
Throughout the day?
Yeah, because to me, like, as your friend, I've noticed, like, you're very well planned, well organized, forward thinking. Like, even before filming today, you texted me as I was leaving the house, hey, by the way, so random, but don't wear white because we're going to be kamyeon.
Yeah.
That was so sweet and thoughtful. But then I thought to myself, like, James, it must be tiring to think of every possibility of every decision you make.
Yeah.
And maybe that's how you kind of self-soothe. I think maybe, and I read this, I mean, I saw this online, so I'm no therapist, but
No, please tell me.
people who are like this,
Yeah.
where they feel like they need to know every little aspect of every decision they're about to make. You're not a control freak, but you like things being in your control, is a result of you growing up in a home, in a childhood where you felt like you didn't have all that much control. Or where, if especially for Korean kids, you know, when you grow up in a strict Korean home and your whole life is about getting validation from your parents through your grades and stuff, your self-love and your self-validation comes from, you know, outward people pleasing, like things that are outside of you. And then when you become an adult, it's kind of hard to like just be easy on yourself, right?
For sure. I'm so hard on myself.
Yeah, like I feel like even when we have conversations, like I'll say really off-base, controversial things for the podcast to get those views.
Yeah.
But you're always like, disclaimer, you know, I don't want to, you know, step on any toes, but this might be a hot take, but like there's always a disclaimer to what you say, and I feel like it's either, maybe you don't outwardly feel anxious about it, but I think you are very anxious in your mind about it.
I'm very much. You hit the nail on the head. Like you're like slapping me in the face right now. That's so good. Like keep going. I'm like shouting you down.
This is turning into a therapy session.
No, but honestly, I think you hit the nail on the head on that one, and I love, like, that's the thing. I love my parents so much. They've done so much for me. But I do feel like, yeah, like I didn't have a lot of control as a kid, and I do feel like a lot of Korean families may feel this way, where, you know, dad was head of the household. I was forced to obey, and I feel like a big reason why I'm a people pleaser in general was because I was forced to obey. So like, you know, I'm just like pleasing others, and then now like as an adult, I'm like a people pleaser, and it's just wild. I'm like going through this weird like revelation.
And I think people pleasing is fine until it starts to affect like your mental health, right? Like, you know, like the worst thing about my people pleasing is that I can't say no. So I'll say yes to like a million different things, and then I'll get really overwhelmed by the amount of things I said yes to, and then I'll just be stressed, or like it'll throw me for a loop. But that's like a result of me just wanting to people please. And I think like that's a problem for me. Do you not feel that way? Like I feel like you say yes to pretty much everything too.
Oh yeah, I'm like I'm the biggest people pleaser.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I'm the biggest yes man you'll ever meet.
And honestly, I think like if there's one thing that I hope people watching this podcast take away from this is that all that is normal. There's nothing wrong with you. Like every behavior that you notice about yourself that you might not necessarily like, there's always a reason as to why you are the way you are. And it's so much more helpful to think about that in a forgiving way, as if you're counseling a loved one or a friend. Like, hey, it's okay. You're like this because that makes sense. And once you really feel like, you know what, there's nothing wrong with me. It's just I'm a product of my circumstances. Like, learning to say no becomes a bit easier. I don't know why. Like,
for sure.
Yeah.
No. Hannah, honestly, I have so many questions I want to ask you. Okay. And you kind of touched on it right now, where it's like everything, like all of your mental health comes from something, right? Do you feel like a lot of it has come from your childhood, or do you feel like that's like a basis of where a lot of mental health issues, you know, arise?
Well, I know for a fact.
Yeah. Fact. Okay. Hot take.
That is kind of a hot take because I'm not a therapist. Okay. Disclaimer. But I know that some mental health issues are genetic, and both my parents, both generalized anxiety disorder, both dabbled with depression, to the point where after I started my healing journey, I was able to convince them to get help, and so they've also really benefited from, for example, taking antidepressants. And like, I think as like older Korean parents, like you would think that it's a bit taboo, that they wouldn't be so comfortable telling people that they're on this kind of medication. But my parents don't mind telling people at all. Maybe that has something to do with the fact that I'm always like, I'm making it so normal. But yeah, like they've been taking it. But it just, when I see them and I see their flaws, I see like, when my dad has like an anxiety attack, or my mom becomes a certain way because she's like not feeling well. Okay. It brings me back to my childhood, and there's like a moment of like sadness because I'm like, oh, like this is the behavior that kind of traumatized me as a kid. But then you realize they have their own mental health issues that they got from their parents or like whatever. It humanizes them so much. And it was really helpful to me to learn how to forgive them, move on from that trauma, and also try to encourage them to help themselves. And as a result, like now they're good on their own, and so that's given me so much space to heal on my own as well. So it is definitely genetic, definitely a result of like nature versus nurture, right? It's both. I think mental health issues are definitely both.
Yeah. Honestly, when you talked about your parents, they seem like wonderful people. Like they're like to. I don't want to generalize. Okay, this is me prefacing it again, but Korean people are prideful people.
Very.
It's to our bone, right? So the fact that they could acknowledge that they did have some sort of mental health issue, they're trying to find a solution to it, and are willing to share, I guess, like the good news to other people. What an amazing
progressive, right?
Yeah, progressive. Oh my gosh, like
I know it's actually kind of crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I'm very proud of them.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of them, and it's the one thing I always am so grateful for, and is like, I could not be this healed if it weren't for my parents. Even though they were a big source of my hurt when I was younger, they are an even bigger source of healing and comfort to me now, because like when I was really going through it and it was affecting my physical health, like I saw my mom researching anxiety and depression on her own, like trying to understand like how better to talk to me about certain things. And you know, my dad takes his antidepressants and he feels so much better, and he's like trying to get his friends on them, you know. Like he's like pill pushing. But it's so nice to see that even though generationally, like in our culture things have been so, you know, tough to talk about mental health, I feel like slowly and surely we are kind of breaking that generational cycle of trauma and stigma.
You know what? You really, there's a revelation moment that I'm having right now, and I haven't put it out into words ever in my life.
Okay.
But I feel like a big part of why I have such a hard time talking about mental health is because I know in my heart that it comes from nature and nurture, like you said. But I don't want to blame my parents at all. I love them so much.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put anything on them because they did everything for me.
They did their absolute best.
They did their absolute best.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's going to just uncover some sort of like blame maybe, and I don't want.
But you know what? It's okay to blame somebody as long as you, like, it's not blame, sorry. It's okay to acknowledge that there's a source of, you know, something.
Yeah.
But then to forgive it and overcome it. But you do need to pinpoint what it is,
For
right?
sure.
You're a very rational person, so you should understand that much. Like, even though like the best way to fix something is to get to the root cause.
For sure.
Yeah, and that isn't to say like let's blame our parents and then you know not forgive them. It's let's acknowledge that our parents are people too. They messed up, but we don't blame them at all. And all we can do is try to be better because we don't want to do that to our kids.
No.
Can you imagine your kid feeling like...
No.
Yeah, right?
I truly cannot imagine.
Yeah. Like, I would hope that your kid would be like, my dad is someone I can always come to talk to anything about, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's always the type of, childhood, I definitely wanted.
All of this healing that I'm doing right now that I'm getting older, I'm realizing I'm doing for my future kids. It's like, I don't want to make the same mistakes as my parents.
Yeah.
I will, though. We will, but I just want to be more aware of it.
Yeah. Do you need help?
I just forget how to...
Here.
Should we cut the camera? This is like... I hate these. Oh my gosh.
No, it's okay. I think also a big part of Korean culture that I think is ingrained in me is family reputation, right? Just like how I carry myself. So I think maybe a part of me is like I don't want to taint my parents' reputation.
To who?
To the community of Korean people all over the world, or like Toronto, or like, you know what I mean? The community is very small, and I just, maybe that's on the back of my mind, because
So
that's
that
really deep rooted in Korean culture, right? Family name.
so that in and of itself means
Mm-hmm.
that deep down there is an aspect of being embarrassed about mental health for you.
Not for me. Like, I don't care, but like, I just
Well,
don't want.
you care enough to not want to like shed your parents in any type of negative light, right?
Exactly.
So, because I know exactly how that feels. When
Yeah.
I first was like, do I share all this stuff on the internet with
Yeah.
people? Like, if I tell people that my parents traumatized me, like, are people gonna think my parents are bad people?
Yeah.
But honestly, that was me kind of feeding into being ashamed about
Mental health.
and just my upbringing in general.
Yeah.
Once you like own it, but you also own the story now. Like, I fully acknowledge everything that happened in the past.
Yeah.
I also fully acknowledge how great things are now and all the work that my parents and I have done to get to this point. You kind of become in charge of that story, and it feels that much more empowering. So don't be embarrassed. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so thoughtful of you to think about your parents, but like, yeah, like I don't think they would feel any type of way about you telling the world or telling your close friends. My parents are the best, but
To all our followers.
yeah, they did
Yeah.
kind of make me feel a certain type of way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the truth.
Oh no. I understand the struggle now. Okay.
This one's actually, take a bite. Tell me what you
Okay.
think.
Okay, yeah, let's take a samgakkimbap break.
Have you tried this brand?
No, I haven't.
Because there's two different kinds at Galleria, and I just picked the one with better packaging.
It's good.
Yeah, it has actually quite a
wanna
bit of
try
filling. No, okay.
Yeah.
It has actually quite a bit of filling. Normally, they have like this much filling and like it's all rice, but it's like
Tasty.
not bad. So I saw I heard on a podcast recently that it really made me think, but someone was saying mental health is brain health, and that kind of like blew my mind a little bit because I'm trying these days to be more physically active and just like more healthy in general. And then I look at you, and you're very seemingly like you're a pretty healthy person. Like, you care about what you put in your body, you care about exercising. Those things are all amazing for your brain health, and maybe that's why you are mentally as stable as you are. As much as you think it's because like you don't confront your negative feelings, I think you really take good care of your brain health.
Oh wow. I never thought of it that way. So the reason why I love cooking and I love running so much, like those are my two things that I like have to do every day. It's because I literally don't think about anything else. Like when you're cooking, you just like kind of like all over the place and just focusing on that one thing. And even with running, for me, that's like what it is. So it's just a really great way to like turn my mind off of all the schedules. I compartmentalize everything in my day. So like it's just a way to shut off.
That's actually a really great tip for people who are like, where do I start taking care of my mental health? Honestly, if it's a lot easier sometimes to focus on the physical. Find that thing that makes you forget about everything, even if it's just for like 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. Ideally, for you, it's cooking and running. For me, it's like drawing, or even sometimes like making content. Like, even though it's work, it's still very fun for me. Find something that you get so like engrossed in that it helps you take your mind off of everyday stressors. That's a really good piece of advice.
How about for you? Like, what's one thing that, you know, really allows you to focus on your mental health, or, you know, you want to tell the viewers?
You know, I'm still very much learning. I know I'm a lot better off than I was 2-3 years ago, but I still have my bad days. And lately, I'm realizing healing, like I said, is not linear. Healing is very up and down. Sometimes you'll go like 5 steps backwards, and you'll find yourself exactly where you were. But then the next day you find yourself like 10 steps forward. It's so random. But I guess what I want to say is you have actually like your whole life to prioritize you. Like, don't feel like taking care of yourself shouldn't be something you're stressed about. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, take your time with it. You're never going to find the answer, really. Even in your old age, like you're like lying on your deathbed, you might still not have the answer. But that's kind of the point, is like you always try always make the little changes, actions, whatever, even if it's changing the way you think about things or the way you talk to yourself. Just those little things will all pile up, and next thing you know, you realize like you've made so much progress. So yeah, just I guess that's my advice: is take your time. You have a lot more time than you think. Yeah.
Yeah. And one more thing, I know we were gonna wrap up, but one thing that I really want to emphasize that I realize right now during this podcast is to surround yourself with people and relationships where you can have these conversations.
Yes.
Like even in this, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes, like I feel like I've unraveled a lot of things that I'm going to be able to take away.
Good.
And yeah, like I think it's genuinely because I feel comfortable talking to you about these things. And I think it's important to have like healthy relationships where you are able to open up.
Yeah, definitely. You're not supposed to heal on your own. Like human beings are social creatures, like scientifically speaking, but mental health is not something you can do on your own. You can always do things to kind of prevent. It's like your physical health, but if you have an issue, you're going to go to a doctor, you're going to go to a specialist. You know what I mean? Like people are all here to help make things better. So yeah, I'm really glad that like you feel that way. And yeah, like you always have. I'm all ears all the time. And likewise for our viewers, I really hope with this one, people feel that this is a safe space. Sometimes our comment section is not the safest space.
Yeah.
I will say that,
Yeah.
especially when the Koreans get on there, they're like very harsh. But in this one, I think I really hope that this becomes a safe space where we can actually talk about mental health and in a way that's like very productive.
Because at the end of the day, like we're doing this because we want to foster a community where we could have a safe space of these open conversations, right?
And it's so normal.
Yeah,
like, that's what we're trying to do. Just like normalize it.
Totally.
Yeah, from two ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, like,
someone
opposite sides of the spectrum.
Someone who doesn't know how to be sad.
Yeah.
All the way to someone who's like sad every other day.
Yeah.
We're here for you.
We're here for you guys.
Yeah. So that being said, thank you so much for watching today's episode. Again, like, comment, share. Let us know what other topics you want us to talk about, and we'll see you in the next one.
Until we eat again.
Bye.